more of the Epstein files have been released. And this is just one of the data sets that I'm going to show you. And I'm going to preface this by saying, warning, CSA. There are things that were reported in what I'm about to show you that might cause you distress. And the reason it will cause you distress is because most likely you're a decent, good person. And it's hard to imagine that we have grown up amongst this our entire lives. And it's even harder for a lot of those who still support the current president of the United States to imagine that people in his position, people who sit in the halls of Congress and Senate, who are distinguished representatives, could ever do the things that are alleged by nameless and forgotten victims. But the funny thing is, a lot of people will say that is not possible. These are the most upstanding people in our society. So before we go into this, let me show you some other upstanding people in our society that as a society we have been conditioned to believe are always there to protect us. Because this kind of thing can't possibly be real, right? These things are done by the lowest of us as a human species, right? Not by people like this. Never. These people protect the people of this country. These people took an oath. These people could never do things like this. And if this is not reality, then neither is what I'm going to show you. This can't possibly be reality because this is the President of the United States. He is the commander-in-chief. He has the American citizen's best interest at heart. And none of this can be real either, because there's one name in this set of information that is inconceivable that this person would be involved, and that's Sammy Sosa. Everybody knows that a Hall of Fame, notorious baseball player would never be involved in something like this. Stories and tales of things that happened at a certain lake in the United States of America, those things couldn't have been done by these prestigious, well-connected, internationally renowned human beings. They don't do things like this. Things like this aren't perpetrated by those who sit in the highest offices of this great shining city on the hill. No, these 12 individuals were the lowest of the low, doing these kind of things to innocent young children. Not esteemed, distinguished diplomats or politicians of this country or any other, except when they involve another soldier of a renowned fort in the United States of America. That's why there are task forces set up across this country to catch people just like this, who regardless of oaths they've taken, who regardless of the perception and the conditioning that we've been taught from a young age that these people would never do us harm and they will always protect us based on honor and oath and allegiance. That isn't true. That isn't true. And you might say, well, it's not the majority. These are troubled people. It's a minority of people. And you might be right. But they are a minority of people who have taken oaths, who have sworn to protect the American people and defend the Constitution. And as I've gotten older and wiser and realized that it's not nihilism or pessimism that shapes the way I perceive the world, but rather lived experience and the ascertainment of knowledge, of looking in to what it is happens around us all the time, to learning about connections, and knowing that the thousands and thousands of those who swore oaths to serve and defend and protect this country and or the Constitution have done things to harm people and to harm young children, whether in this country or abroad. That there are people throughout my life who have had connections with people who have harmed other human beings, whether in this country or abroad. And so when I see headlines like this now at the age of almost 48, knowing that someone like H.R. McMaster, who was connected to Donald Trump as his old Security Council boss, when I see that there was that deployment of 5,000 soldiers from Fort Carson unit to Iraq at one point in time, I no longer read that and think every single one of them was going to protect me and make my life better and this world safer, because I've learned too much and I've seen too much to believe that there wasn't a small minority of those 5,000 soldiers, or a small minority of soldiers been deployed to another part of the world throughout my life who hadn't harmed innocent human beings. Because if they do it here, am I to believe they never did it when no one was looking or holding them accountable in another country, in the fog of war, as Pete Hegseth calls it? There are people who are predisposed to this kind of thing. There are people who grew up around us our whole life, whose life at home was a catalyst for the things I just showed you, for the generational traumas to perpetuate. Connections. I'm going to end this by saying, I believe William Sasha Riley. These people aren't exempt from those kinds of atrocities against other human beings simply because they wear expensive suits and are decorated. I just showed you. And there are thousands of more cases of it throughout the decades that you can go research yourself. The suits mean nothing without integrity. The suits mean nothing if they are accomplices or complicit. These people exist in every capacity, in every profession. These people are not exempt. Peace out.